Ahead on today's show, the best and worst VGK moves of the offseason, and will the early exit for the Golden Knights pay off for this team? Coming up next, right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. You could find us wherever you get your podcast, and please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Use the promo code Locked On for Locked On NHL, I should say, for $20 off your first purchase. This segment, Chris, we chop it up about the best moves of the offseason, and then we'll talk about our worst moves, and later the long offseason. Will it be beneficial for VGK? So, best moves. Mine is probably one that I think might be underrated of sorts. I don't believe that Paul Cotter blossomed in the manner in which VGK thought that he would. Okay, so yes, 7 goals, 25 points last season, but he just could not finish, and nor could he find any consistency, I think, in his game. And so I thought that this was a good deal. VGK also sending to New Jersey a 2025 third-round pick in exchange for the goaltender, Akira Schmid. And he's definitely shown some flashes of brilliance for the Devils organization. And the forward, Alexander Holtz, who could be a steal for VGK. He had 16 goals last season, despite being played out of position. And in my opinion, this was, I think, one of the more favorable moves for VGK.
This is the best move of the offseason without a
You
shadow of a
agree?
doubt.
You agree?
Oh, God, yeah. This is the
I
best
called
move.
it underrated. Okay.
No. This, my opinion, is by far the best move that the Golden Knights made of this offseason. Starting with the fact that a concern with the Golden Knights, we've talked about this on how many shows, they're getting old, right? You know, all these older players who are getting on the mid to the back sides of their contracts and such. Well, now the Golden Knights have a couple of young players who have both shown some really good moments, I guess you can call it, starting with Schmid as far as the goaltending goes here. Schmid is not long removed from a season with 18 appearances, 213 goals against, 922 save percentage. The last season, not as exciting, obviously, unfortunately. 315, 895 save percentage. Again, the Devils were kind of a dumpster fire on and off last season. So we'll see what Schmid has. And then going to Holtz, this is obviously, I think, the best part of this deal. Holtz 16 and 12, 28 points. But like you said, playing out of, like Paul Cotter actually, you can call it, playing out of position, playing in, the bottom six, basically, not getting a lot of minutes, but still finding ways to score goals. Paul Cotter, biggest concern, could not find his own identity with the Golden Knights. Now, it's weird because he does have an identity of a physical player that does a good job finishing checks and board battles and such, but just lacked that consistency. So Cotter gets to press the reset button. I think it's good for him going to Jersey. Maybe he can come into his own over there. And the Golden Knights got a pair of young players who could be around for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts about the acquisition of Olofsson for VGK?
We'll see. I mean,
is there some upside there?
There's all upside. That's the thing. There is all upside. We're talking a 3-time 20-plus goal scorer. Has done very well in the power play. So, again, the Golden Knights are looking to replace a lot of goals that exited in this last free agency period. It was somewhere between 80 and 90 goals. I forgot the exact number. Obviously, if they get last year's version of Olofsson, that's not going to be very good. If they get that 20-plus goal version of Olofsson, okay, now we got something. You got history with Jack Eichel, so that certainly could be something to watch. I mean, I don't know if Olofsson winds up taking that top-line role. We're talking someone that was a healthy scratch many times for the Buffalo Sabres, so let's temper expectations a little bit, but maybe there is lightning in a bottle. You never know.
And then I think another underrated move, if you will, was locking down Pavel Dorofeev. for a couple of years, right? 1.8 AAV. I think that was a good move there because they expect a lot out of him this upcoming season.
Dorofeev has the upside to a Jonathan Marchessault season. Now, I'm not saying Dorofeev is going to score 40 plus goals this season. Maybe he is. I highly doubt that. But you could see a player who gets in the upper 40s to low 50s points totals. But Dorofeev has just something that the Golden Knights lack, and it's the ability to drive to the net. It's the ability to just find soft areas of the ice. Dorofeev does something just in crashing the net and things like that. I mean, Cassidy, I believe, at one point last season was begging someone to just consistently crash the net and things like that. So Dorofeev can finish. Dorofiev's complete game you could see improved. I think some of William Karlsson was rubbing off on Dorofeev. They did have a lot of time together.
Empty netters.
If Dorofeev finds himself in the top 6 role, I would not be surprised at all if he put up a season, call it 23 goals and 19 assists.
So are there any other moves that you think were beneficial for VGK?
I mean, those are the most important ones. Obviously, the Golden Knights filled out the AHL roster a little bit, and we'll see if any of those players end up working their way up. I mean, those are the key ones. I mean, you got Zach Aston Reese, Tanner Lazinski, some acquisitions. We'll see what they have. Robert Hagg was the one that you and I talked about a little bit, but we'll see if that produces anything at the NHL level. And that's what I got so far.
Well, I want to also do parking lot material, maybe. The amount of did we do amount of starts for each goaltender and include Schmid, because I think they're going to try to get him some reps as perhaps a goaltender of the future here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm definitely on record saying Sam Sonoff is going to get the most starts between
Did we do a number
him and Aiden
thing?
Hill. We
No.
have numbers for that. I don't know if we put a number for Schmid in there though. I don't know if we did the trifecta.
We didn't cut it up into a pie chart. No, we need a pie chart. I think when you do those.
Another discussion could be Aiden Hill or Logan Thompson for Team Canada if it comes down to those two.
Oh boy. Well, there's a lot of talk about that now, huh? About
There's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of talk about that.
Well, I think Team Canada. Well, they're going to select 3 goaltenders. So, is that in the parking lot too?
Yeah. Hopefully, Pete DeBoer has a little more weight in that discussion than Bruce Cassidy.
Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the worst offseason move or moves. Of course, we've got a prohibitive favorite there. Stay with us right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Fans, we are brought to you today by Indeed. If you need to hire, you definitely need Indeed. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon. And right now, listeners will get $75 off of their sponsored job. They will get a credit there to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Again, if you need to hire, you need Indeed. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. And please don't forget, Fridays are WTF and Saturdays, the Chris times Chris Jr. show. So you had some photos on that cruise. That kid sprouted up, man. He's getting taller. Growth spurt, you think?
It's coming. He had like that growth spurt hasn't happened yet, but it's he's getting a little bit bigger. You can see it out there. He was on the ice on Monday, so you definitely saw he looked a little bigger. He looked a little bigger on Monday when I was watching him.
Okay, how's his weight training going over the off season?
Well, the Nintendo Switch is pretty heavy, so that helps both of us.
Heavy.
That's probably the start.
As we both know, VGK losing day one misfit Jonathan Marchessault to free agency could be one of the worst decisions in VGK history, the long and storied history of this franchise. Still don't know how VGK is going to replace his scoring plus a big locker room presence for Jonathan Marchessault.
Yeah, that's not my worst move of the offseason though, but I'm with you
Not your
on
worst
every
move.
no. No, my worst move is the Logan Thompson trade. My worst move is the Logan Thompson trade. I get the team was in a pickle and needed to trade him, and I'm sure all the NHL teams knew. And McCrimmon was, shopping Logan. Okay, well, why are you trading this kid? He looks pretty good. What's going on? Well, he has to be traded. Oh, well, that changes everything. So I get the spot that the Golden Knights were in. Logan was flipped for a pair of third-round draft picks. We'll see what happens in the regular season. If the Capitals are competitive, obviously I see them, sticking with the tandem of himself and Lindgren, but I would not be surprised if Logan got flipped again around the trade deadline if someone needed a goalie. What if he winds up back in Vegas some crazy way? That would be absolutely nuts. I doubt that highly. But the point is, if Logan was flipped again and it was during the regular season, it would not be a pair of third-round draft picks. It would be a second-round pick, a prospect, a package thereof. So I just feel the return for Logan Thompson. I don't care why the trade happened, but I feel the return for Logan Thompson was not nearly worth the player that Logan Thompson is.
Okay, but Marchessault, no. How does that rank up there?
Listen, Marchessault's right behind that, and I get it. Like, I know I've been very passionate about Marchessault should still be a Golden Knight, and that hasn't changed at all. But there is a big picture perspective when comparing Logan Thompson and Jonathan Marchessault. If you would have told me one player to sign for a long-term contract of the two, I think I would have gone Logan Thompson. He's been nothing but consistent throughout his career. Has no problem getting the 40 appearances and such. Marchessault, yeah, I mean, you got a couple really good years probably left, and then we'll see what happens. Obviously, Marchessault had a career season and spiked, where Logan Thompson, I think, is just coming into his prime in being a very, very good starting caliber NHL goaltender. And with the issues Vegas has had in the Nets, it would be nice to have a Logan Thompson who seems to be very consistent. Now the Golden Knights are going with Samsonov, which he's a lightning rod as far as just, concerns go. His statistics, his advanced statistics last year were just terrible, unfortunately. Aiden Hill, who when he's on, he's wonderful. I've called him the best goalie in the NHL when he's healthy. He's not healthy often enough. That's the problem right there. So Golden Knights could have shored up that position for a long time. I don't think like a 6x4 deal might have been very reasonable for Logan Thompson. It would have been really good for the Golden Knights. Marchessault, on the other hand, like we said, a couple really productive years, and who knows?
Yeah, and Logan Thompson, I could probably make a prediction that he'll wind up having a very healthy season because only VGK goaltenders get hurt all the time. Bad move for me, 1A, the loss of a player that covered a lot of the intangibles, did a lot.
Amadio.
No, I was going to talk about Chandler Stevenson.
Stevenson? Okay. Go ahead.
No, you forgot about Chandler Stevenson.
I didn't forget about him.
No, they let him walk out the door, albeit for $6.25 million a year. More money than Marchessault had. That's crazy, right? When you think about it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, okay, let's just pretend for a second. Does Stevenson even consider? I mean, we both had Stevenson getting around $5 million a season. I think we felt that's about where he was going to.
We thought about $5. We thought about $5.
The Golden Knights were not, I don't think, a player at all in Stevenson. Number one, Tomas Hertl. That's your first problem right there. Hertl made Stevenson's position a bit expendable. Call it what it is. They experimented throughout the season with Stevenson on the wing, and it just didn't work. The other concern for me about Chandler Stevenson going forward is Mark Stone. Stevenson and Mark Stone together, great chemistry, great statistics. You can very consistent having those two on the same forward line. You knew great things would happen in long pockets with those two. When Stevenson was separated from Mark Stone, which was a lot over the last 3 seasons due to injury, Stevenson's game dipped. So who do the Seattle Kraken have who's their Mark Stone up there? I don't know the answer to that question. We'll see who that's going to end up being. And maybe Stevenson will come into his own. But the reason why Stevenson's loss doesn't rank as far as worst offseason moves for me is because of his contract. If the Golden Knights offered him $4 million, which might have been the number, honestly, I got to go back through some text here. But point is, I don't think Stevenson would have even.
Did they make an offer? You think they made an offer?
I think so. I got to go back. I got to check some text. I got to check some text sources. But anything less than $5 million from the Golden Knights, I don't think Stevenson is even going to get a phone call from his agent. Like the Golden Knights might have offered, $4 million times 5 years. And whoever Stevenson's agent is probably didn't even tell him, because it's just that far apart. And obviously, we saw Stevenson get just a massive, and good on Stevenson, good for him. Anytime a player gets paid, that's excellent. But that would have that contract would have been worse than a lot of contracts that we're currently concerned about with the Golden Knights.
And with Chandler Stevenson, they have him slotted in, I think, on the second line with Burakovsky and Jaden Schwartz there for Seattle, which could be productive.
Definitely, 100%.
I think they'll have a bounce back. I think they'll have a bit of a bounce back season. I do. I just think they have a lot of talent that's on the way up, I think, and they have to also avoid injuries. That was a big concern.
Seattle was really good 2 seasons ago. I mean, they got 2 goals away essentially from going against the Golden Knights in the Western Conference Final the year the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. They had a really good pocket, the Seattle Kraken, right around the Winter Classic last year. A really long streak. Is your like one of those 7 wins in 9 games type of thing. Whatever it was, they had a really good streak going right around then. That's probably about when the Golden Knights. I won't say the Golden Knights were hitting the floor then, because there's a couple floor moments in last season for the Golden Knights, but the Winter Classic was certainly one of those floor moments. They just looked completely outmatched in that game.
Yeah, that's how down the league was a couple of years ago when VGK won the Cup, that Seattle was also in contention.
Oh, get out of here.
I had to take a shot. I gotta take good shots. Hey, I was just people thought I was being too nice here. I got to get back to being Mr.
Who said you were being? Who gave you credit for being nice?
Chandler Stevenson had 51 points last season, right? But he was down from
in a quiet year. It was quiet. It was a quiet 51 points.
Right. One of my reasons, I think, behind the scenes was, again, everyone was talking about how much a contract year was weighing on Jonathan Marchessault. So I think it was really also weighing on Chandler Stevenson. I really do. I think he might have been pressing, but his 51 points was down. What was he, in the 60s the previous 2 seasons, thereabouts? Yeah, his point output. And I was the biggest proponent of Stevenson and thought that he should have been an all-star for sure. I thought, the way that he was playing on this team, especially in the Cup season.
Well, he did have an all-star season not too long ago. So Stevenson, before the 51 points last season, was 64 and 65 points. And again, you want to talk about just a great move for the club from, if we're going to rank the top 10 acquisitions ever for the Golden Knights and how they got him, Stevenson might be right up there. I mean, the trade for Stevenson was an absolute nothing deal, and they got him at 2.75 for 3 seasons or something like that. You want to talk about a player who outperformed his contract every single step of the way. Stevenson definitely is it. So maybe he's getting some back pay now with the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, but I still did not, in my wildest dreams, expect for him to be making more money than Jonathan Marchessault ever.
It's an age situation, right? Stevenson's 30 years old, Marchessault 33, 32, whatever the number is right now. So, and there's obviously a little more of a premium for centers and defensemen.
You have his birthday in your calendar, Jonathan
Chandler Stevenson, April 22nd. Yes.
What about Marchessault? Do you have?
Did we send flowers? Flowers.
Yeah, flowers.
Marchessault, I don't know. November, I feel like, actually, for Marchessault. Why do I feel like it's November? I'm going to check.
Coming up again.
I can find it right now. Let's see.
Yeah, it's going to be another
Marchessault, December 27th. I was close. I was off by 1 month, which isn't too bad, actually.
Yeah, he gets
Marchessault, vet of the QMJHL from 2007 to 2011. So there we go.
That's why he was successful.
Absolutely.
Coming up next, the last time the Golden Knights had a long summer, they came back and won the Stanley Cup. How much will this long summer currently benefit VGK? That's our topic next on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Fans, we are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you will get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do indeed apply. And don't forget, coming up this week, I know a lot of folks, my name isn't Gametime, okay? So don't call me for the Morgan Wallen tickets. Just go to Gametime, go to the Gametime app, and definitely make sure that you download it, and you will get that $20 off of your first purchase. So there's some tickets floating out there. I think they're pretty affordable the way that concert tickets go these days. And also, you can find your Major League Baseball tickets for each and every kind of event that goes on everywhere. And I know for Chris last night, his Chicago White Sox, they were celebrating with the champagne after the game there, breaking that long losing streak. Shout out to the organist up there with the Oakland A's. They should bring that organist here to Las Vegas, playing, well, sort of trolling Chicago there with Taylor Swift's 22 going on the 22nd loss. Did not work. Hey, you're still the Oakland A's, for crying out loud. Anyway, there are a lot of great features where we are talking about Gametime, and you can get those last minute deals where you save up to 60% off of buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, like Morgan Wallen and all of that. And don't forget, they also have Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets like those for Morgan Wallen, and maybe you wait till the last minute and try to save as much as you possibly can outside of Allegiant Stadium this week. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Of course, you could find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. That's where you can find periodically, new term, periodically you could find the Chris and Chris Jr. show. Fridays are WTF, and I already have a bunch stored up for this week. So do you feel that VGK, Chris, can have a repeat of the season they had a couple of years ago when VGK didn't make the playoffs, had all that time to be on the mend and to get in some workouts and to eat some food in Sweden and all of that. And they bounced back by winning the Stanley Cup. A lot of questions going into that season as well, because they did have a new head coach in Bruce Cassidy. How would they adapt to his system? Are there more questions now, perhaps, than they were in that offseason, do you think?
Oh God, this is, I've said this how many times, this is the most interesting
The year of the question mark?
Yeah, I mean, this is the most exciting training camp for the Golden Knights besides the first season when we were trying to match names to the faces here and everything. And it's going to be very interesting to see, who shines at camp, who doesn't shine at camp, and what lines have chemistry and everything.
Oh, you used my word already. That was where I was going.
Chemistry is a buzzword for this season. Chemistry, sustainability. Yeah, they're definitely all on the bingo card, no doubt about that.
Chemistry's number one.
Chemistry's number one. Contract extension, that's another one.
And IKEA lines on the bingo
IKEA
card.
Line, that's a good one. That's yours.
Yeah.
That needs a hashtag. So listen, I mean, a ton of questions coming into the offseason, but that's what's going to make it fun. That's what's going to make the camp interesting. And Is Holtz going to, play a Brisson out of the lineup? Is Olofsson going to find that resurgence? Is Hurdle, are his knees? I mean, we can go on and on and on here about all the questions that we'll start to get some answers to. Mark Stone's back. How's that going to look? I mean, his back looked decent last season, at least compared to the prior 2 seasons. So, so many questions here. But to answer the question of the topic, this is very beneficial for the Golden Knights to have this long off season. I mean, after the Stanley Cup, right? These guys are going up and down the strip. They're getting $5,000 tubs of tater tots from and cabanas and stuff like that.
Web Republic, man.
They're running around shirtless at Omnia and all the clubs, drinking out of the Stanley Cup and doing God knows what when the cameras aren't around. And you heard Kolesar talking about being addicted to the beer. I asked him if he was addicted to the confetti. He said no, he was addicted to the beer. So he was enjoying all the spirits that go with being a Stanley Cup champion in Vegas. And I can assure you there was certainly some guilty days over the summer as far as rehabbing and getting in shape and all of that goes. And now there's motivation, right? This team went out in the first round. I get it was a weird season, but this is still not a team that should have gone out in the first round. I don't care what the situation is. And I'm sure McCrimmon, McPhee, and Bill Foley and Mark Stone, everybody else agrees they should not have been a first round exit last year. So they get some extra time off. They get to, find ways to get their bodies right. That's obviously a focus of Aiden Hill, as we talked about the softball game. And we'll see how this plays out. We'll have a good idea how these guys are going to break when they break camp. Now, I know I'm going a little bit long here, but the only reason why the long off season maybe isn't as beneficial as we might think, how good were the Golden Knights in the first 20 games last year?
Man, you're just stealing everything here. So
I'm on my game.
I was going.
I had a long off day to think about all this.
You sure did. So you and I hate that we're in sync sometimes. So I was going to stress, again, I'm very concerned. Previous 2 years, right, that we've been doing this show, I'm like, VGK.
The over definitely hit on that number.
If they get out of the chute slowly, McCrimmon's going to be gone. All sorts of things, doom and gloom, right? And I'm concerned about that C word, chemistry. I'm definitely concerned about chemistry. And is this the season that they don't get out to that advantageous lead there? Because they've gotten out early and they've just kind of coasted pretty much the rest of the way after really good starts in the opening parts of the season. Why? Mostly predominantly because the schedule's rigged. We know that.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying as far as the start and everything, and it all has to even out at some point. And what's a slow start? Obviously, if they come out 3-7, that's a slow start. If this is a team that's middling around the 500 as far as points percentage goes through that American Thanksgiving, where you see some flashes, you see some down periods, but the team is kind of showing signs of improvement along the way, I don't think that's a bad thing. If they're like the 10th seed, 11th seed in the Western Conference when American Thanksgiving comes, yeah, that's a concern. If they're in that 6th or 7th overall Western Conference seed, however that shakes out, whether it's Pacific Division 2 or 3, WC1, doesn't matter. Just looking at the Western Conference as a whole right now, if they're between that, call it 6 and number 9 spot coming into December 1, that's okay. That's okay. That means the team has plenty of improvements, plenty of upside. If they're no better than a number 12 and they're, basically, I don't know, just throwing a number out there, 30 games. If they're 13 and, if the team is 12, 15 and, 3 at that point, now that's a concern. Now, obviously, that's when McCrimmon has to start thinking about, okay, are we loading up to get competitive this year? Or are we going to make moves to make the 25-26 season team better, which honestly, I think that is the path for the team to really make a run in 25-26 if they do something this year even better. But I think they're really loading up for 25-26 right now.
But they don't want that off season, not around here. There'd be a lot of changes if they had just a mediocre season.
I think Bill Foley is ready for that. I mean, Bill Foley,
really?
If Bill Foley didn't understand the business when he first got into it in 2016, when he first, started getting things going, Bill Foley knows the business now. Bill Foley knows the business now. And don't think for a second that all these cutthroat moves that McCrimmon and McPhee have made, don't think for a second that Bill Foley doesn't sign off on these, or Bill Foley hasn't given the green light to do whatever it takes. And if that's the case, Bill Foley is going to do whatever it takes, and he's going to be twice as ruthless and cutthroat, I think, as McCrimmon and McPhee. You look back to the Nate Schmidt and Marc-Andre Fleury trades; those really weighed, I think, on Bill Foley. You saw it in interviews and things like that. I think now, 4 and 5 years later, I think now he's softened up a little bit when it comes to that. And now he really understands this is a business. And if he wants to put a cup team out there, tough decisions will have to be made. And that's not just with the players on the ice. That's with the suits in the suite right above the center ice.
Well, let me tell you this. If William Karlsson left this organization, there'd be massive tears from Bill Foley. Massive tears.
I think I think someone will be leaving with William Karlsson too.
I just go back to, like, it was a television interview, and I know Foley was like, yeah, we'd like to win 3 or 4 for William Karlsson. Of all players, we'd like to win that many cups because of him or for him. This is too much. We appreciate everyone tuning in.
And then we're done.
And then we're out.
And we're done.
Mic drop.
And I love
okay. And everyone wonders why I have this affinity for Vegas Bjorn. We appreciate you tuning in, especially our everydayers.
And like his name just comes up and explosion.
Everydayers, thank you so much. Please subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel. We know we have all these unique listeners and viewers. Let's get on board here. And definitely leave your comments. We appreciate everything that all of you do. And on Friday, WTF, Saturday, sometimes Chris and Chris Jr. show. We appreciate you tuning in, all of you. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Lockdown Golden Knights. And please